first up, a quick update on Fiji and where we're tracking for this particular year. I suppose we're faced with a similar challenge that every business in Fiji faces, which is an increase in people costs and talent costs. Particularly affects us in our business. We're a talent-driven organisation, and retaining key talent is a prime motivator for us as a board. Like most Fiji businesses, we've experienced around about a 30% increase in salaries and wages and people-related costs. And so to try and match that with increases in revenue of a similar nature is a big challenge. While we have experienced increases in revenue, we're trying to close that gap. However, we have seen some additions this year, including the return of Fiji Showcase, and we had a very highly successful one in July, and that has had a big impact on our bottom line, and we look forward to reporting on that next year. I will also note that in recent years had an increase in our tax rate, really a doubling of our tax rate from 10 to 20%. So when we're looking at historical results, we need to take that into account when we're thinking about the performance of Communications Fiji Limited. The other comment that the other area that we have been focusing on is obviously our online presence, and we've seen the success and growth of FijiVillage, particularly in recent years, and it has become a critical sort of sixth media brand for us, right at the core of the performance of the radio stations in FijiVillage. Those of you who are monitoring them, you'll note that they are increasingly interlinked and they work in partnership with each other. And it has been interesting that the recent audience survey revealed that whatever losses we may have had, and actually fairly marginal losses in radio listenership, have been more than made up for in gains in terms of the reach of FijiVillage, and that has been particularly exciting. We've continued to invest in our broadcast network. We've opened a number of smaller sites covering what we call our sort of transmission gaps along the Coral Coast. Up in the Northern Division, we're about to open a small transmitter site in the northeastern Viti Levu, which will really plug a gap up that way. And I'd just like to note, and shareholders should know, that we are the only media broadcast organisation that has its own independent broadcast network. So think about that. We are effectively the only broadcast media that has its own independent radio network. We are not dependent on Walesi, we are not dependent on any other form of transmission. And we are unique in that regard. And as a result, particularly in the populated areas of Fiji and Viti Levu and Vanua, we have an unmatched reach via our independent broadcast network, bigger than the national broadcaster. Despite this, we have, one of our challenges is been in the past that we've struggled to attract government-related revenue. And I noted in my comments that prior to this is well known, and the previous government that was denied us largely on political reasons because of our independence. In recent times, we've been promised revenue and government advertising, and we've continued to work to get that, and we are hopeful that in the coming months that situation might change, and that will have a big impact on our bottom line as well. This is all related revenue that is related to public service advertising and various initiatives that we've been working through with the government. So we're hoping that will come online fairly shortly and have quite a big impact. I just returned from Port Moresby to visit our new facility in Port Moresby. The team have moved in. It's a long-time dream for us, keeping in mind we're approaching our 30th birthday in Papua New Guinea. And so we're finally in our own home in Port Moresby. The team are very excited, and it's very impressive, I've got to say. The purpose-built facility is state-of-the-art and really sets up PNG-FM to continue to exploit and develop in its role as the biggest broadcaster in the region in Papua New Guinea. Like with Fiji, it's designed around an on-air, online partnership, and we expect to grow that market significantly thanks to our new facility. We will be opening it formally later in the year, November 14th, which is the 30th birthday of PNG-FM. So we'll be celebrating that event by formally opening the building on that occasion. I've also mentioned that obviously our biggest challenge going forward is how do we increase profitability in a high-cost environment, particularly a high-wage environment. We're not alone in that challenge, and that's something that your board and certainly your management team are grappling with on a daily basis and trying to think of innovative ways of boosting revenue. One of them going forward is an increasing recognition that the Fiji market is no longer just a domestic market. It's actually a market which encompasses the diaspora as well. And we are seeing increasing amounts of spending at consumer level and all sorts of different levels coming directly from offshore via various digital gateways, payment gateways, straight into retail businesses and into various other forms of spending in the Fiji market. That places an interesting dilemma for Fiji-based media, and we are uniquely positioned because we aren't just Fiji-based anymore. Because of the development of our platform, Fiji Village, both as a news hub and an entertainment hub for Fiji, but it is also a well-established news and entertainment hub for the diaspora as well. And so we are going forward, looking at ways of making sure we can exploit that fully and see how we can generate revenue and increase revenue on that basis. But I think we're well ahead of the game in that regard, and we look forward to seeing that area of our revenue increase dramatically. It's an interesting time for Fiji. So suffice to say, exciting times ahead, and I just want to reassure shareholders that I think CFL is well positioned to take full advantage of the opportunities going ahead in what is now very much a global marketplace for Fiji media. For those comments, open the meeting, and we start by receiving and adopting the minutes from the previous annual general meeting that have been circulated. Can I ask that someone move that those minutes be adopted?